Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Voice of Leadership on the theme Tech Talks FutureScape HR, how HR technology is powering business. This interview series is brought to you by ETHRWorld in association with SAP SuccessFactors. In a world that is disrupting on a daily basis, I think HR has a very strong role to play. It is moving away from just managing people to actually impacting business, and HR technology is playing a key role in this. Through this video interview series, we talk to top HR leaders across the country to find out how are they using HR technology to empower business, to improve employee engagement, to overall impact productivity. And that's what we're going to discuss in today's episode as well. And I have the pleasure of hosting Mr. Manish Patil, who is Director HR for ONGC, along with James Thomas, who's Vice President and Head for SAP SuccessFactors India. James, Manish, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. So as I said earlier also when I started talking that HR has undergone a massive transformation, especially technology is like the fuel that's powering this engine, right? So I want to do this conversation to understand how do you look at technology today? How is it enabling organizations to become better at their business? And how can HR create that impact on business today? So before we deep dive into the questions, I have an interesting rapid fire section. So let's kind of break the ice, warm up the conversation, and then we move on. So are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
All right, great. So Manish, I'll start with you first. So one HR challenge that is very unique to the oil and gas sector.
To my mind, the geographical location of our work centers is one of the biggest challenge for us. I'll just add a little bit to this reasoning because oil and gas sector is something which is normally not situated in the cities and all, because we have for safety and security reasons we have to be out of the places. And if I talk about ONGC per se, we have to have our offices where oil is found, unlike where we want to set up our offices. Exactly. And that creates a big challenge for us for convincing people and extending them all the necessary facilities or enabling them to do. We are doing it, but then as an initial challenge, this is one of them.
And that is quite unique, I must say, as you said, that
Yes.
you have to build an office where there is oil found, not where you want to. Interesting one, thank you. James, one question for you now. One HR tech myth that you would like to bust?
Right. Yeah. Tech being applied as a lipstick will stand the test of time rather than the inner core of what technology needs to provide.
That's a good one, very interesting, I think. People start investing in tech without really understanding how the need and the impact that you need to create. So that's a great point there. Coming back to you, Manish, one proudest transformation initiative that you've led at ONGC?
In fact, if you say the proudest transformation that we are bringing in, I'm right now in between it right now. Okay. Because around 2 years back, a year back, we started something called as creating an ecosystem where HR is on a competency based. And phase 1 we have already completed. The management committee of directors of ONGC led by our chairman Shri Arun Kumar Singh, we had contemplated, we thought about it, and we realized that this is something which needs to be done in order to ensure that the people who are there today are assured of what is expected of them. They are also aware as to what their future entails, which are the skill sets which they have to have, and we have a very good system to measure their performance and put the right person in the right place at the right time. So phase 1 is already on, and this is something which I am very hopeful about, which will bring a good change in our.
Absolutely. I think you need that structure. You have to create that career pathway for your organization, for your people today, so that the organization has a clear picture.
Correct.
And the people
they have
also,
a clear picture, and in all, everybody gains. The organization gains, employees also get something which they are looking for.
That's a great one. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. James, coming back to you now. A breakthrough tech trend you believe will reshape HR in the coming 3 years maybe?
Yeah. So just to what Manish said, a 360-degree view of employee has become extremely important today. So what was soft skills before is becoming hard skills today. Or as Manish said, where do employees want to move from a reskilling perspective, or what skills will help them for their future are all aspects in my view. So the entire world of talent intelligence, skills, competency-driven talent intelligence, and how organizations are able to really get a 360-degree view on the employee is going to be something that's going to be the future in the area of people.
That's interesting, I think.
The transparency, the creation of opportunity is something which as a management we got to do for the employees, so that they are very clearly seeing as to which direction the things are
Exactly. There are no loopholes, there are no dark areas, gray areas. I think everything from the hire to retire journey should be transparent with the 360 view.
And that is where the tech works.
Tech
and
works
it
the
works
best.
and it's an enabler.
Yeah,
for it.
exactly. Coming to you now, I think everyone's talking AI in HR, AI in HR. According to you, what's the best use case of AI in HR?
AI, I am myself very much interested, and I was surprised to see a young HR officer comes to me and says that we normally have, when we are managing a system, say for example, I am dealing with a good CSR initiatives in our organization. So there has to be a mechanism whereby I have a digitally record available with me, so that what happens, who has been sanctioned, what is the project getting time and all. Now the database is ready. Now the next, normally in legacy system what we do is we will have to write reports to do it. Now this guy comes to me and says, sir, there is no need to write reports. I will develop an AI model, will train them in such a way that it understands all the variables, and whatever you want, you to just simply fire a query. So it has taken out the fixed kind of a system to a flexible time of as you need, as you want, you to just fire that query and it gives the result. So I was amazed, because apart from chatbots or assistants, this was the first use where I felt that yes, AI is in a position to do many things on data analytics and reporting.
Exactly.
So this is how the HR had been in a position to, and a lot of other functional also they are doing it. If we do a lot of exploration, huge amount of data is available. In order to synthesize it, in order to analyze it, in order to give a data input as to these are the points on which management later on just discusses and comes to a conclusion.
Absolutely. And that's a very interesting one, as you said, that entire task of reporting, data analysis would take hours and days. It's done in a matter of minutes now. So that's a very interesting use case.
And it's a very flexible.
Yes, absolutely. Very flexible. Anytime, it's on demand, I think that way. Yeah. What is your favorite use case of AI in HR?
I think what's fascinating me is the convergence between embedded AI, conversational AI, and generative AI. This has evolved over time, and now I think the world is converging towards, I think a lot of that Manish already mentioned, for example. How do you really converge this so that, let's say for example, a real-time HR dashboard looks very different today because of the elements of all these three components that can come into bring that dashboard to life. So my use case today is more on the people intelligence dimension.
And the entire convergence of the all sorts
three
of
dimensions,
artificial. That's interesting. Thanks so much. Manish, a leadership value that you never compromise on.
Leadership value. See, for me, the most important leadership value would be the integrity. I'll tell you the reason. Integrity is something which invokes or which makes the followers or the people in the organization to believe that they have trust in this guy. They have a trust in the guy that he will not compromise anything which will be in the interest of the organization. It also creates a lot of, they have a pride in working for such an organization which is led by a leader whose integrity is impeccable, whether it is integrity of personal aspect, or it is for the benefits, or which is for the issues which are to the benefit of the organization. So integrity is the one which I would never like to compromise on, and I would like every leader to have that, because that is where the trust comes in. That is where the hope comes in for the people who follow you.
I remember talking a while ago with you where you said that change a leader and see how the team performs. If it's a good leader, the team will do wonders. If it's a bad leader, you'll see productivity fall anyway. So I think that's where a leader who has integrity, empathy, trust, and
It is the trust which has to come, and the trust comes in when somebody shows that yes, I am trustworthy. My integrity is beyond question. This is how I thought.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting. I think it's a very core skill to have. Not a skill, it's a quality actually. So, and very inherent. So thanks for sharing that. Also, if you could tell me about one technology that you kind of brought to a ONGC, which has really done, a huge transformation for you.
In fact, I would again say on the same thing, because in ONGC we have various generation of people who are working in. So the kind of times I remember somewhere around 1990s when the computers had come into the working across India, somewhere maybe 2-3 years before or somewhere later on, people had to be trained on it. Now the generation which is coming today already know how to use app on mobile. They need not be trained. So that learning curve has gone very, very short. The period is very, very short. Now, AI is something which, forget about an organization doing it. Even today you search on a Google Chrome, it filters and gives you if it is an AI enabled that you don't have to look in for exact information is available. So today this is a field in which I see a lot of potential, I see a lot of future, I see a lot of scope where we can take a good decision which will be considering all the variables and only the relevant things will be available for management to take a call. So AI analytics is something which I think is going to change the future.
Yeah, it is a must-have now, I think. Can't ignore any longer.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You don't have to sort out too much. The certain job it does, you
Yeah.
have to just take a call based on what is presented to you.
True, exactly. Great point. Thank you so much. James, since we're talking tech, if you had to give one piece of advice to a CHRO, a tech advice, what would it be?
Yes.
Buy SuccessFactors, deploy SuccessFactors, stay with SuccessFactors.
That was
No.
plain honest.
On a serious note, I think what possibly in the age of disruption as it is happening and as Manish said, with the shelf life of a lot of things shrinking rapidly, staying with a platform view and having a North Star in terms of the tech journey is super critical. So you need to go for reliable, scalable, secure platforms that can really stand the test of time and evolve in a journey where your employees are, where the organizational priorities are, and where the environment is in terms of disruption. So a fine balance across these dimensions is extremely important. You can't get very fanciful in this in terms of trying to experiment with it.
Exactly.
And go for any platform which is as powerful and as reliable as that.
And that's interesting. I think, as you said, being realistic in your view, knowing that balance between what's needed, what's not needed, and having a North Star view basically is very critical for CHRO. So thanks for that advice. So on that advice, now it's time to move on.
I'll just add one thing to what James said just now. James, I met you only today just before the interview. But one of the things, he said there has to be a system which is going to give support on all these things. And SuccessFactors is one of the partners whom we had a discussion earlier. So I was just telling him, so your advice I have taken already. But then it is, and we just evaluated it and it's a good, yes, much before he said.
That's an interesting one. Great. Thank you. So on that note, thank you for kind of lighting up the mood, and the conversation is going interesting. So let's deep dive into the exact theme of our conversation today. And Manish, let's come to you first. I think ONGC is it's a traditional organization in a very complex and highly technical industry, right? So how are you using HR technology to modernize talent management overall and also prepare the organization and your people for the future?
See, your question has 2-3 keywords. One is talent management, of course, is the one. Before that, you talk about traditional and complex system, and second, technical system. In fact, we see this as the highly technical organizations have a very strong tendency of getting split into functions, because all the expertise remains in a function. And it is like, the alignment is more towards function. This is something which we have observed. Normally, we say the country first, organization second, we third. Now, many times it has happened, first thing remain the same. Somewhere instead of organization, the functions come in when the organizations are highly technically oriented. What happens is, the knowledge gains importance, whereas the organization needs growth vertically as well as horizontally. Vertically in the sense, technically one has to grow. But organization need leaders who have, as he was talking about, 360 view of employee, not only employee, 360-degree view of the entire organization and the business world. Today it is, if the predominance is that of expertise and not of overall. So chairman often quotes this in a meeting, that it is like operation successful, patient died. So this is how, when your expertise is in one function, you ignore, probably, you overlook the other aspects. Now, keeping that in mind, we also always believe that there is something called as system thinking, there is something called as individual thinking. But we need to contemplate things individually, but we need to decide collectively. This is what probably in highly technical systems you can evaluate yourself at some point of time as to Their more focus is on technical, whereas today what we need is the business's success in the world, because the world itself is changing. Exactly. If you remain in that very technical aspect, you will not be able to succeed.
It's a narrow view.
Narrow view. So the talent management comes from that perspective into this. So we have already made conscious efforts whereby we have devised a mechanism whereby people up to certain level grow and gain expertise in a particular technical function. Okay. Thereafter, we provide them an opportunity in which they can gain knowledge on the relevant width roles. For example, if somebody who's very good in a particular stream, say for example drilling, maybe that guy also needs to have some idea about production related aspects, because drilling is something which you drill and get the oil from the below the surface. Thereafter, its processing, its distribution, and there are other things related to it. That expertise also should be coming in. One guy should also have some idea about exploration, because that is where the entire corporate knowledge is available, and these are the guys who would tomorrow be the leaders of our company, or for that matter even other company. So talent management, this kind of an opportunity, this kind of performance evaluation, this kind of a learning and development inputs, this kind of opportunities in the sense, some focused where we take the people based on some particular assessment and then we train them on this, and thereafter even the assignments are given to them to look at various projects which are going on, which are not related to only their technical expertise, but also which are of the interest for the organization. Say for example, some people who have been given an input on high-end managerial and learning leadership training, they are put into a live problem of how do we optimize, say for example, platform, we call it OSV, PSV, offshore support vessel and platform support vessel. How do we optimize them? Because we have a number of rigs across the Bombay High. How do we ensure that there is an optimized solution? Now somebody who would be from finance, somebody who would be from HR, chosen, given an input and given this task, so that they grow from that way. And then ultimately we post them as and when the time comes. So when I was telling about competency based HR, this is where we identified roles, we identified relevant competencies, measurement, and it's an ecosystem. It's not a stand-alone one system. Okay. So the talent will be measured, given an input on, given an opportunity to work on, and finally as the opportunity comes, then they got to perform. Yeah. So this is how we have tied up, so highly technical and
no, it's very interesting. So you're moving from, if I can say, role-based kind of an organization to skills-based organization.
Role will remain, skills have to be associated so that we get the right kind of a candidate. While interviewing somebody, I should be in a position to know that this guy is most suitable for this job. Exactly. Or there are 3 or 4 or 5 candidates for this role, or for this individual, I've got this kind of a role. Yeah. So this is something which we are working on very religiously, and half the work we have already done last year.
Yeah, because otherwise, if I may say, PSUs are very, structured, and they have the siloed roles are already created. But I think that flexibility that you're creating in this is a huge step.
So just to add to that, I think that's a brilliant point.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, there is a huge convergence happening between what Manish said as functional. And in the HR world, for example, we can look at the functional HR as center of excellences. Let's say, for example, a talent acquisition or a compensation and benefits or succession planning, right, or performance management. So you have a functional center of expertise on that. But there is an interconnectedness which is emerging, what is called systemic thinking. I think it's an brilliant point in terms of how today the employees are being looked at as journeys on the talent life cycle. So if I have to evolve to a new skill, and if I have to be given some learning recommendations, it has to be connected to where my performance assessment was, where my skills were. So there is an interconnectedness which is coming across the functions in driving a certain systemic approach to how this will evolve. So that's a wonderful point. And the other one which I think which technology is trying to really make it front and center is the role to skill competency and how at the core organization design needs to cater to it. Because technology, if it doesn't cater to it, while at the process layer you can think about it, but for a large organization as big as ONGC, it's not physically possible for a line manager or a business leader to manage this. So you need technology to really come in to marry this disruption of how these roles and skills,
Are
for
coming
example,
together.
the example
Yeah.
that Manish gave is about skill adjacency, for example, right? A drilling person, looking at something which is connected to it. So this entire org design today at the core HR layer is getting completely disrupted to a more skill-driven world.
Yeah, I think it's cross-pollination of skills now.
In
yeah.
fact,
Yeah.
a very simple example I tell you, the approach changes. See, normally the gap in the skill, the inputs are given on the areas of improvement.
True.
Now, what we have felt is, rather than working there, why not to work in the areas of strength?
Yeah. Focus more on.
Focus more on that. Of course, you focus on the areas of improvement, fine, not an issue. But let us encash on the areas of, improvement, rather the areas where the guy is strong,
Strong.
so that, the learning is much faster.
Yeah.
If you start training somebody or you start encouraging someone which they are strong, you will find an interest coming in.
Yeah.
They will be doing it much better.
It will come naturally to
Naturally,
it.
it will come to it.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
that's a great point.
this is the new thinking which is
It's a very, I
coming
think,
in.
very
So this is what
forward
we are doing
thinking.
here.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think James, a question for you that comes to my mind is, I think Manish mentioned earlier, it's 24,000 employees, and a lot of that is also dependent on field expertise. A lot of the employees are there on field. So organizations like ONGC who rely so heavily on field expertise, how can HR tech now? HR tech plays a great role. Play a role in making them more agile, resilient, future-proofing the organization, and in this way, kind of bridging the skills gap and also transitioning into newer roles. So how do you suggest that?
Yeah, so one big shift that has happened to HR technologies. Earlier, HR technology used to be the privilege of a few, right? Today, HR has become, applications have got to move to employees, right? Earlier, employees used to go to the application, a fundamental shift. And organizations as spread out as ONGC, like the workforce dynamics that Manish at the beginning alluded to, makes it even more imperative for applications to be available to employees in a very personalized form and not be overheads to them where they operate. So how do you really have a mobile first or whatever are the organizational guidelines and policies? Obviously, you got to go with that. But within that broader guardrails that an organization has, how do you make it very agile, personalized to every employee across the 24,000 employees of the organization, while also having certain standardization to this whole process? You can't give away and personalize it mindlessly, where every employee is doing his or her own stuff. No, there has to be a standardization, because normally technology focuses on standardization of processes. But today the game is, within that standardization, how do you personalize or hyper-personalize employees, and how do you really take applications to them in a very relevant way is where it is changing. So
if you look at it normally, it's an oxymoron, right? Standardization and
Versus
personalization.
absolutely.
But HR technology is kind of bridging that thing and bringing together that, as you said, when you're so diverse, you have to have some standardization, but yet personalize it to a level where people feel it's more user-friendly and it reaches them rather than them reaching to you. So great point there.
And one of the observations I have is today's employee, the aspirations and the purpose is also changing. Compared to the baby boomers and the Gen Xers, the Gen Zs and the Alphas are thinking very differently to what they want to achieve in their daily jobs, right? Or where they want to see their careers evolve, mental well-being, work-life balance, all of that. So this aspect on how do you uniquely understand the employee on a more real-time basis, and as Manish said, employees are possibly the most ambiguous of the resources that we have. Today I may think one way, tomorrow I may think another way. So there is a certain contextuality to how I evolve from time to time, and various factors influence me. So if organizations or employers or HR organizations leadership is unable to, managers unable to understand that context of the employee today, then you got a problem. So that's where the whole shift is happening in my view.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So Manish, that actually brings to the next question, where again we spoke about 24,000 employees across diverse locations. Now, how do you ensure a very consistent employee engagement, amongst them? How is technology or how do digital tools help you in creating that kind of a journey where everybody is connected?
See, one thing is certain, that it is only the technology which will be able to provide a solution when the organization is widespread and especially into those normally challenging geographical areas.
Yes.
So, technology is an enabler. What rides on technology is something an organization or HR has to think about, what fits its requirement, how critically it can be done, and how fast it can be deployed. So, we talked about just a little while back the functional expertise or the skill set of people who are there in the field. We have also realized this, that if the person goes, the knowledge goes along with him or her. There has to be a system of measurement and recording and to be placed as a reference for us for the future generations to come in. We talk about the learning management system. Now, opportunity for the people have to be created in such way that they need not say as to what they want in the initial periods. We give them opportunity of various modules which are like e-learning modules. If I can't give you training by coming to your place, I will create an opportunity for you where you can learn at your comfort, at your time, at your device, whatever way you want. We will have to create a system whereby we start realizing as to who is doing what, how many courses one does. So, it's the beginning stage itself, it gives us a clarity that how are the employees liking to do it, what do they want to do it, which courses they are looking in for, what will be the allied course for them for further. And thereafter, once they grow slightly senior in the junior management, then we have devised for them a different kind of a plan that wherein we identify them and we put them into some program where they still have a little bit of outside world knowledge. See, traditional legacy organizations have been such that they have been operating in a field which probably are, that's why they are called legacy system or old system. But then they are in an industry which is still there. Now, that industry may undergo a change. But requirement of energy will remain. It may go from fossil fuel to some other fuel. And that's a very good question in front of us also. We also got to change. We will have to move from what we do. And we are already making efforts to get into those arenas where our footprints are there. We'll try. So, training the employees on that part is again our responsibility. Today, we find that we have good amount of expertise. What we need to develop is good amount of wider expertise. Whereby I mean to say, we need to have a good manager and a leader. We already have good experts. So, this is where we are right now working, and I am hopeful that in another year's time, and for doing all this, it cannot be done unless technological support is available to us. Because it helps us in reaching out to people, it helps us in evaluating, developing the tools, it helps us in recording it, and it helps us in matching what is required. So, it all has to be initiated from HR side, maintained, and that's how the expertise can be captured. And even legacy companies, I would say it's a compliment to us, because we have been working for so many years. Tell me how many companies would be there operating for more than 70 years, 50 years, 60 years plus. So, employees working there are having a long commitment. And this is what today, even if it's in a small organization, they're looking for a commitment from the employee.
Yes, absolutely.
So, there are people who are doing it. We need to just tune them, to make them realize, to create an opportunity for them so that they can take further leadership roles as the days go.
Yeah, so I think, as you said, it's very important to get that sentiment analysis done on what's working, what's not working, and then create your entire employee engagement journey, your experiences for them, their learning pathways, all of that based on what's working for them. And that's where digital technologies play a very core role. That's interesting. James, since we're talking a lot about how we can use technology to understand employee sentiments better, and also learning and development and what kind of pathways you want to create for them. How are you thinking, how can HR tech, link learning and development more directly to business outcomes? Now, why? Because now the business heads, the leaders are looking for impact. They're saying, yes, there are a certain number of investment that's going, a certain amount. How is the impact looking? From L&D specifically, that's a big question that's asked. So how can HR tech kind of enable that?
Yeah, wonderful point. See, you look at it from the classical model of in-person training to virtual instructor-led training to online anytime, anywhere learning, as Manish beautifully put. If you look at how the ratios were, right? 70-20-10, for example, has been turned upside down. Okay? And a lot of the points that Manish said in terms of be it the flexibility, be it the content. So one is this shift on relevant training from a repository of knowledge. There is a tremendous freedom and choice which today employees are being given by shifting this model itself upside down. That's one dimension. The second then is, we also have a challenge. For example, in SAP, I am inundated with so many trainings, I don't know which training to do. So just going online and content being available also creates a problem of abundance. So then the question is, how do I pick, or how are the nudges happening for me to really pick out what is contextual and relevant to me today, right? Either to enhance my role currently, or to the next role I'm aspiring to be, or my understanding of what is the peer group doing in terms of how they evolve. See, I also need to be in communities. Okay, so it's not, one is personal and individual learning, which is wonderful, but if I can also understand the community that I can join, which is of interest to me, it helps with a lot more nudges. So today where technology is moving is in all these dimensions. So one is, how is a performance assessment getting connected to, as Manish said, if these three are my strengths and my competency is at 3 on 5, 4 on 5, can I really go 5 on 5? Because when I go 5 on 5, the results and outcome I create on that is far greater than me trying to pick up something where I'm 0 and moving that to 1. So there is a certain contextuality to this in terms of where my performance is, where my inclinations are, and how is the organization nudging me to maximize my potential. Okay? Every person is unique, right? If you really harness the potential of every employee, organizations can be, stellar. We don't even, there is this book, The Other 90%, which says that the best of people in the world do not even utilize 10% of their potential. Okay? The best of the people in the world, you pick anyone. So that's the kind of potential of human beings. So from a L&D perspective, right? Today, I think organizations as well as employees are getting very contextual to this aspect, lot more than what it was before. And I think part of it is the generational shift, because it's also change management, right? Because employees also need to realize that they need to be on this journey. To Manish's point, a 70-year-old organization, while the legacy is great in terms of the richness and the depth that it brings in, but it also, today's employee also demands a certain agility that in which it needs to move. So it's a very interesting contradiction there, and that's where technology plays an absolutely pivotal role in making the shift and managing change alongside for the employee and the employer.
And how do you measure success, or how do you see how is this impacting business? One is, of course, if it's more contextual, it's more relevant, then you see productivity, then you see engagement levels, and that kind of impacts business. Is that the right way to measure? How does HR tech kind of enable this?
Yeah, so once you have this view of what is it that from a performance management perspective or from a succession or career progression perspective is the guided journey or the path that each employee needs to go, then today technology provides for a hyper-personalized visibility to it. Is the employee going that? And there are mechanisms by which you can really measure, is the training effective? Is it creating the kind of outcomes when it comes to subsequent performance assessment? For example, it has a once in 6 months or a once in a year or even a once in a quarter performance management is changing now to more continuous performance management, for example, where organizations are starting to assess continuously to these inputs and the nudges and the journeys that employees are undertaking, how effective is it on a more continuous basis, right? Because when you go back and check after a year, it's too far down. So today technology is enabling a lot of these things. For physically to do those things for a line manager or a business leader to really understand this, it's extremely difficult. Recording, as Manish said, is also important. You need to have this data available in a very easy to consume format, right, for managers, because otherwise it's humongous overhead for managers as well, right? So you need to make, I mean, to me, if you ask me in this aspect, simplification and harmonization of processes to make life easier across the persona of the organization, from the employee to the manager to leaders, is at the root of how technology will get consumed in the future. If you don't simplify things for people, no one has the patience at time. You look at the OTT or the Amazon Netflix experiences. It's so easy for anyone to engage, right? It's not just for alphas and Gen Zs. Even the baby boomers find it quite comfortable to engage. Technology has to shift to that kind of a easy to use world.
Yeah,
of
it has
how
to be
you consume it.
contextual, it has to be relevant, it has to be personalized to people's, and also align with business at the same time. So great points there. Manish, coming back to you.
I'll just,
please,
Yasmin, add, he said certain 2-3 good things, but from my experience and what today business leaders look for is basically, the question of monetizing what HR has done has been a classic question for ages.
Exactly.
Now, we do a lot of interventions, but the question is, what these interventions have helped the business either in top line or the bottom line. Absolutely. Now, say for example, one of the good things which an HR can do is having the right kind of a people for the positions which are going to come up as a business leader. So an organization decides from this level onward, I would call them as a part of management. Like we have an hierarchy up to executive director within the organization. So executive director or group general manager or chief general manager, these are we call as the leadership positions. Now HR has to come up with some scheme so that management knows the kind of guy which I have to put here has got the relevant things necessary from him or her to perform that job. So that measurement has to be ready, already available with us. Say for example, TNI we talk about. Normally we say training need information. So many times people give. Most of the organizations say let people give. Probably we can look at what organization wants them to give. Because that is where you will decide as to, I have these kind of roles, this guy is the model in which direction in which the organization is moving. He gave a very good example. Today, each employee has to know where is our business moving. Employee has to know that today in the energy demands, the energy needs, the energy sources are moving probably from a fossil fuel based, across the world I am talking about, not about India, from fossil fuel based to another alternate. We got to keep our people ready. People also have to be ready that yes, this is an incoming. So people, they are busy with their work. So it is the HR which has to really identify such things and then create an opportunity, create a learning system so that they know about it. You will find somebody over a period of 2 to 3 years that he has got more interest in it. So let us groom him for this kind of an initiative which we are taking.
Exactly. Yeah.
So if these are certain things which HR is in a position to do, and as I have always maintained, things can be done on the backbone of technology only.
There is no other option.
There is no other option because that kind of a fast delivery, who would give?
Yeah.
How would you keep such a humongous amount of data?
Yes.
How would be doing a filtering of it? So today we have to look at accountability and deliverables. This is what we normally have a philosophy on and train them from the junior time so that they understand what the organization needs. So this is how the entire learning and learning management system, which we normally call it, or L&D initiatives, they have to slightly come from traditional ways of thinking, because sometimes somebody asks a question, what do you do? I do this, this, this. What happens by doing this? When more deeper questions are asked, the guy was not able to answer. Because somewhere one has to realize that what I do, the purpose of it has to be clear. So probably this is what we are trying to do in HR also, that what you do, you create some enabling factor for the business people to work on. Business could be of any kind. It can be of retail, it can be of any kind. Like in our case, it is the businesses of production, businesses of drilling. So all those businesses in exploration to find the oil fields which are below the earth. enable them to perform that well, identify them for the leadership positions and give them those inputs is something which in nutshell puts
Very clear cut, yeah. So that's a very interesting point, and I thought that's a question I'll ask you next, and I'm coming to that now. You said we are transitioning in terms of energy needs, right? Globally, there are digital advancements happening. There's more environmental awareness, and organizations like ONGC and you are at the core of the center of this transition. So how are you ensuring that your talent is kind of future proof? They have the right environment of skill building, that you're preparing them for the future. What steps are you taking in this direction so that you're ready for that next change that's going to come?
The first and the foremost is we got to tell people that this is the businesses in which the organization is going to move in, and for so and so reason. Say for example, we talked about world probably is moving from fossil fuel to non-fossil fuel, renewable and all. So first and the foremost is we got to really understand, maybe it may not be true for India for the time being for various reasons. But then as far as world is concerned, we have to. Now organization is already working on, when we move in that direction, what kind of a businesses we should be in. And for those businesses, what kind of inputs would be required for our employees. Sometimes it so happens that we are not able to organically grow to that level because that opportunity would go by that time. So, to some small extent, we may have to look in for expertise on some term of 3 years or 5 years, which helps our people to learn about the things, and then the support goes off and we are able to take up the project on our own. So, one is sensitizing people about the changes which are coming. The best part is, why not to place them on those departments, but then after a real good assessment of them. Say for example, if the business of LNG is coming up, gas is something which is already, or business of renewable energy, say for example wind energy or solar. So if we find, we conduct assessments, we try to find out from them how many of them have got good understanding of this. Traditional way would have been, you take whosoever is performing best, you take them. Here question is of performing best is one aspect, and relevance, inclination, skill set is another.
Very, very.
So combination of 2-3 things should be there, and that let us get that guy. One is giving the training inputs and all. Second, assigning them the role. Because I firmly believe that people have capability to perform in an area which is of interest to them.
I agree.
That's why I said let us work on the strength of people rather than on their weakness. Because somebody, if it is a level of -3, in order to go to 5 will be difficult, rather than somebody who is on the positive side at 3, that guy can go to 5 faster.
Exactly.
So during recent discussion, I thank my colleague directors on the board, and it was a collective decision that yes, let us work on this, why not? So this is how the movement of, sometimes, normally I always believe that the market, the products change, customers' preferences change, so companies change their product. We are in a field, probably there may not be any direct customers, but the landscape itself changed. So change is something which we have to be prepared for. Awareness, skilling them, and before skilling, identifying them, who would be the right guy. This is where the role of HR comes in.
3 steps.
3 steps, sensitize them, identify them, and then skill them, and then put them on the job for it. So this is where normally, I'm cutting across normal traditional ways. You put them for training for 15 days, give them training. But after training, if you don't assign some work to them in related field, the training goes off over a period of time.
It has to be learning by doing.
Learning by doing.
Exactly. That's going to be
so there are some systems we are trying to put in place so that this entire, that's what I call it, an ecosystem. It's a good word, but I like it because it explains the thing very nicely.
So that's what very nice points, I think, Manish. I think change is so inevitable today. Every other day is a new day. So prepare, something new comes up. Sometimes you're prepared for one change, the other comes up. So it's all about, as you said, firstly being ready for change, sensitizing people that change is going to happen. And then, of course, assessing, identifying, and then putting them into the right structure and skills journey, I think that's going to be very critical when you're preparing for the future. And large organizations have to be very careful in this as well. So thanks for sharing that. Coming back to technology, James, I'll come to you now. Everyone's, as I said earlier, also AI and automation are the buzzwords today. So what are you most excited about when it comes to AI and automation, especially in HR? And how do you think should companies adopt these kind of technologies more responsibly?
So I think data is super critical. A lot of times I started by saying, the tech lipstick is not good enough, right? So you can't just look at the presentation visualization layers alone on technology. You need to really understand an organization like ONGC with the kind of richness it has over decades, right? The amount of knowledge and the data that it has is phenomenal. Now, so you need to ensure that that data is good, because a lot of times over a period of time, when you accumulate data, it gets very messy and, not clean, good data. So that is the foundation to me, which I call the people foundation, the 360-degree people foundation view to data. And layering that to a responsible, reliable, relevant data sets or data sets, let's say, is at the core of how you will then layer all that Manish talked about. If you want to then play into the talent engagement layers or experience layers or analytics, as Manish said, all of that you are layering on the quality of your data that you have put together and the correlations of the data sets thereof. You can't take away the business context and the semantics around the data. Data is not in isolation, for example. ONGC has a uniqueness to what that data means to ONGC and oil and gas sector. Another industry, another player or another player in the same industry could have a very different set of business and semantics context to that data, slightly nuanced. So as you lift up the data to play in the upper layers with the employees to really impact top line or bottom line or your KPIs, you also need to elevate your business context and the semantic context of your data to that visualization and presentation or how you take decisions. So that's how today technology is looking at. For example, concepts like data clouds, right? Or how insights to be driven at the presentation and visual layers. All of this is greatly changing. And I also want to touch upon one point, which is the speed at which things are changing, right? There is an old saying Rolling Stones gather no moss. But I think we need to change it upside down, where these days Rolling Stones gather more moss. Because things are changing so fast, you can't stay there. For example, loyalty. Seriously, organizations have started debating whether tenuring is a good mechanism of learning and evolution of employees. Or the Gen Zs, they want new excitement and new projects every 6 months. So how you get more dynamic with giving experiences to employees is also becoming a serious question to a lot of organizations. So this ability for you to be very nimble, agile, at the same time getting truly relevant with your data, with the business and semantic context, is getting extremely critical to taking decisions on how smarter you can get with people, right? And as I said, today, I have never seen in the last 2 decades of me being in HR, tech in particular, I just moved into it without really reading. I said, people and tech looks fascinating to me. Let me combine this. But today, people have become so much front and center. The leveling has happened to a lot of other differentiations. Today, organizations who really harness the best in people, I think are the ones who will survive for the next decade.
Absolutely. Great point. I think what I'm hearing from the both of you is, while he comes from the oil and gas industry, data is the new oil. So you have to be really good at how you are understanding data, managing data, as you said, aligning data that comes from business to data that comes from employees, putting them in the right kind of visualization stage. That's going to be so critical as, as HR leaders, as we're preparing ourselves for the kind of changes that will happen. So great points there.
In fact, I'll just, if you permit me, see, for ONGC, interpretation of data, if it is wrong, our each action costs huge.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it is the see, I would say AI analytics is a super tech. Super tech. Technology was there already there. It built in certain things, it analyzed.
It's a step higher.
But still, when the data is available, it depends on what kind of a model, what learning has been given to that model which is predicting this.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on somebody to have a look at, because you must be remembering some time back that control C, control V thing, it went to the, at very high level in the office, and then at a later stage it was realized that control C, control V, and the guy was saying, sir, I just went to AI, certain words he must have missed. So the entire thing was pasted as it is, and it created furor.
So that could be a huge
So that's why AI is an excellent tool for us to work, provided we train the model well.
Yeah.
We look at the data once. It saves us a lot of time for doing ourselves all those things, a lot of manpower, a lot of time. It does it on its own.
We have to set it
But
right.
provided you have trained it well,
Yeah,
you're looking at the data, because for businesses there is an implication of it.
huge.
And particularly if I talk about ONGC, we have huge amount of data when we do exploration, the surveys, the seismic surveys, huge amount of data.
You can't
You need to sift through all that data. And that is what AI does and gives it to us. We have rigs running, which are new generation rigs running at different parts of the country. And we have a center in Dehradun, which monitors the inputs from there. And there are people who are getting, understanding what kind of a geology is there at that particular place. So if a problem comes, there is an expert who would be in a position to say, try to do it in this way. Because when you're drilling, there are certain stages where you come across some hard rock.
Yes.
Then you have to take an alternate measure. So all those things are only possible because of technology, provided we really make use of it to the benefit of the organization.
Totally. So it gives you intelligence.
That's happening to people today.
That's happening
Yes.
to people. Exactly. So it gives you the intelligence that is needed. But as you said very rightly, the caveat is garbage in, garbage out. So be careful how you train your models, and then, because otherwise it costs business in a huge way.
implications.
So great points. Thank you so much. Time for the final segment of this. And since we were talking HR tech, I'll ask James, I'll ask you a question first. So we are talking so much about implementation and HR tech. So what are the key considerations when deploying HR tech in organizations with the legacy infrastructure and also geographically diverse workforces? So some suggestions from your side.
Yeah, so I think wonderful question, because a lot of times, technology can be very fanciful. There are a lot of things that can be done. I think execution from how you approach deployment is the real game. And my view is, from my vantage point, it's always good to look at 2 or 3 factors. One is it's a journey, so don't try to boil the ocean. 2, look at high impact areas, because you have an organization culture, you have your people. While you want to really do things and you are really charged up to change the world, you also need to understand your organization is at a certain level of maturity, your people are at a certain level of cultural intonement. So you need to be very real to what are those 2 or 3 high impact things. And in that high impact, I would say create couple of high impact things which are visually impactful to the employees. And employees are not really bothered about some of the plumpings you want to put. But that's also important. As I said, the quality of data, or how you connect the dots at the back end in terms of architecture, a reference architecture or a North Star, as I said. So approach it both ways. Maybe you want to look at shifting your architecture in a direction that is your North Star, while also giving some good experiences to employees, and have a kind of a 3-panel or a 4-panel view to this in a journey of 24 months or 36 months. So my recommendation to most organizations is, while you may want to do everything in 12 months, this involves people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
be a little watchful.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. As you said, don't try to boil the ocean. Be very selective. Be very intelligent in how you're choosing technology. And secondly, look at the high impact areas.
We want to sell it all.
Yeah.
I said, yes, there has to be.
Yeah.
No, it's very nicely
The
said.
magic has worked, James. Yes, Manish, please.
He said, what he said was perfectly fine. One is, there has to be a possibility of integrating what legacy organizations have. Because when you're surviving for last 40 years, 50 years, you have some data. So any IT solutions or any new thing which is being put in. So there is one thing is that, of course, apart from rolling it out, second, it has to be able to integrate with what we have.
Already there, yes.
User should be in a position to appreciate it, and that the reason and the remedy for that would be it should produce the results that they are looking for. Because many a times we give so many things to them, but they say, okay, it's incremental. Today we are not asking for change. We are asking for transformation. Time of change is gone.
Yeah.
Change is been replaced by transformation. This is what we believe in our executive committee meeting, our MCOD meetings, that change is small change is not required. This is a time when we have to go for immediate transformation. Third, we got to train people on them. As I gave an example, when in 90s people had to be trained, I remember there used to be classes to tell how to use mouse, how to use keyboard. There are some very funny examples. Yeah. But today, the new generation need not be told, because they on the contrary, they look for, sir, can we not have this on the app?
Yeah, they're born in technology.
Yes, so they say it's ease. Yeah. They say, I will, whenever I get a time, I will do it. So all these things if put together, then only the, digitalization works in its full bloom. He gave a very good example that rather than doing it 100%, what good, nice word you used, which is very important as far as HR is concerned, is the culture.
Culture, yes.
Culture is nothing but what is the reality which organization accepts and rewards, and what people think is the way to behave in the organization. That is how the culture brings it. That's why he said it's a journey, because cultures don't change so fast. Cultures would change when people see that this is working. And that's why when you asked about leadership, I said integrity is the first, because people have to have trust.
Absolutely.
Then only these things come into that. So in ONGC, I'll just give you lastly an example. Yeah. We always believed that the work is done in the field. Where physical work has to be done, it has to be decentralized. What has to be centralized is expertise. What has to be centralized is thought. So we have developed a large screen, we call it as a darpan, wherein entire work centers, we have got around 16 work centers at various places the rigs are working, or there are installations which after the oil comes out, it goes to a place where it is processed, other things are removed, gases is removed, oil is stored. So every workstation, every work center is depicted on the screen on a lifetime. And the idea being, whenever we come into the office, if chairman feels like, let us discuss and this place has got a problem. So rather than sitting in the room discussing alone, he has been saying, we should discuss. That's why I said contemplate alone, discuss in group. Yeah. Because you may miss something. Yeah. Whereas when you sit collectively, you are in a position to come to a very right decision, a refined decision. Some aspect I may miss, you may say, yeah, what if this is happening? So it's a big, so there's an application of technology. We've got a big screen of that. And sometimes he would say, let us sit there. We'll have a cup of coffee and we'll have a look at this and decide.
That's so nice. Yeah.
So this is where, so everybody would have thought about it, because the problems come in morning reports. Nowadays, all the status comes on the WhatsApp message and all. But collective thinking works there.
Yeah. And technology is helping.
Technology is helping on that. So digitalization in this way will help people. Absolutely. We have a lot of people working on a project, which we gave a group of people a project. We say you don't have to, you guys can talk to one another. But we fix a time that you got to give a solution on this. Because in our parlance, this is what is the job of management.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The nitty-gritty they take care. Management is nothing but, managing the contradictions in the system. Yes. That is what they do. Yeah. So this is how digitalization or these efforts work.
And I think, implementation, of course, is a big thing, but adoption, as you said, it's superbly critical when it comes to HR tech. That makes you know whether it's working or not.
In fact, today, a lot of focus is on technology to ease out that adoption as well. Yeah. So we have, for example, some tools exclusively to make it much more simpler on the adoption side of things. To some of the points that Manish said, for example, how is it intuitive guided for an employee to be contextual to where it is? Because see, a system that you configure and deploy 1 year back evolves over a period of time as well. So an employee who walks in to use a system today, a training available 1 year back is not good enough. He needs to be staying with where the system is today. So there is technology coming in there as well in terms of workflows or mechanics.
It has to
where
be
employees can
seamless.
be-
The integration into your daily lives, daily workflows has to be very, very seamless
But
for
the
people.
point is absolutely critical, particularly as things are moving to more like on tap. Today applications are on tap. We use terms like cloud, but fundamentally it is like electricity or water, right? Applications or all these things are being made available on tap to employees. Then the question is how easy it is and how intuitive and guided it is to the employee so that he has to just switch on the tap.
Yeah,
Or-
exactly.
yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Great thoughts there. Last question I think I have for you, Manish, and I think a bit on the national goals and how are you aligning ONGC's HR strategy to national goals like sustainability, say inclusion, digital transformation? Is there a system that you brought it together somewhere?
See, as far as national goals are concerned, we, as I said in the beginning, we ourselves are a CPSE. So we are a Government of India owned company. Sustainability is, in the changing environment, every business or every action that we take has to be made, in such a way that its effects are getting reinvested in the system itself so that for a longer period, it runs on its own. See, sustainability, even when I talk about the employees, the development of employees, bringing them into a mainstream where leadership or these roles are very clear to them, I am trying to sustain the leadership pipeline of our corporation, our organization as a whole. Now, there are certain things like sustainability, if you talk about, often talked about topic is about inclusion part of it. Now, not only we follow what has been prescribed by Government of India, because this is for us to follow, there is no go about it.
Yes.
But certain things we try to do extraordinary, which, for example, person with disabilities are there. So we are the only organization which conducts a good sports meet for the person with disability so that they feel that they are not left behind. So this is one part of it. Sustainability in the leadership, sustainability of the people to, contribute on a continuous basis is something which HR can definitely bring in for us. As far as business parts are concerned about sustainability, which would be in terms of either the initiatives of, see, sustaining the business would also mean that we are taking the actions where we see the future is heading to. Because I always believe that business is for perpetuity.
Oh, absolutely.
And if we really see that there are certain things which are going to go off in the days to come, what is the alternative available to it? So we need to get into those businesses, and HR has the responsibility of making our people ready for those businesses. The kind of skill upgradation programs that we run, they are with this particular view, where we tell the participants that this is where the world is moving. These are the areas where if we work, we would be sustainable.
Yes.
And that is where they need to work further. So put together all these things. Digital, of course, we talked about a lot. So digital, I don't think anything further to say. But on these two aspects, that is inclusion and sustainability, as far as environment sustainability is concerned, we are very cautious of it. We are always going in for, see, government has got a lot of guidelines on solarizations or renewable energy. Sustainability also comes in by the view of CSR initiatives that we take.
Yes, that's a good point.
Which really takes care of those who are out there in either in tribal areas or in the field of education or in the field of medical. We have been contributing based on what guidelines are available to us, because we have a guideline, we have a theme areas in which we need to work on. So we do our best. Oncology is something on which we are working on in a big way. Education is something else. And empowerment of women is something which we are doing so much on this. So this in a nutshell is what we do.
So I love this part to end with, when you say that while you're doing all of that, you're transitioning as a business, digital transformation, technology, upskilling, but other than that, you're taking care of your environment, the world, and the people who matter. So I think that's very, very critical. So thank you. But I'll still not let you go. I have one closing question. Since I started with rapid fire, I'll end with one. Just quickly, in one or two lines, I'd like you to say and you to say the same question. What is it one thing that HR leaders or HR needs to stop doing or start doing when it comes to preparing for the future?
Leave the past practices.
Okay.
Learn which way the business is going, prepare people for it.
Yes. Great point.
That's all.
Great. Thank you. James.
I think we need to inspire people. Because there is so much disruption happening around, I think we need to really be able to inspire our employees to a very glowing future ahead. That's one thing which I think HR is the custodian for that inspiration in the organization. And what they should stop doing is don't meddle with business managers too much.
Understand business, but don't meddle with much with them. So I think that's a very interesting note to end this conversation. Also, gentlemen, thank you so much, Manish. Thank you, James. Wonderful to understand. What I love about such conversations is how forward-thinking are we becoming as an HR function, and how technology is helping us become smarter by the day. So we are kind of crystal gazing into the future. We are preparing for it. We're making sure we take humans along. We're making sure we keep empathy and integrity intact. So that's the true, I think, the true manifestation of a true HR leader today. And you're embodying it very well, Manish. And James, I think, tech guru, you always have the right answers there.
Yes.
So thank you so much. The conversation was amazing. And I'd like to thank the people watching this episode as well. I hope you enjoyed this conversation on Voice of Leadership, Tech Talks, FutureScape HR, where HR technology powers business. This is brought to you by ETHRWorld in association with SAP SuccessFactors. Stay tuned for more such exciting episodes. Until next time, take care and bye-bye.